Welcome to Content London On Demand. I'm Ed Waller, Editorial Director of C21. You're watching the Focus on Flanders session, where we will look at what the Belgian region of Flanders and its Economic Fund and Film Commission Screen Flanders have to offer international producers. The Flanders region is fast becoming the place to be for international co-productions, offering breathtaking and authentic locations, state-of-the-art studios, higher-end post-production facilities, not to mention some rather attractive financial incentives as well. The list of international dramas that have so far taken advantage of what Flanders has to offer is a long one and includes BBC dramas Les Miserables, The White Queen, The Missing, as well as Cold Courage from Viaplay, Versailles from Canal+, and The Window from ZDS Enterprises, among many, many others. In this session, we're going to hear about the experiences of 4 international producers currently working in Flanders on dramas that are receiving support from Screen Flanders. The panel includes Jean-Benoit Gillig, General Manager and Exec Producer at Leonis Productions in France. Welcome. Hordur Runarsson, CEO and Producer and Co-Founder of Glass River in Iceland. Mia Haavisto, Producer, Founder and Owner of Tekele in Finland. And last but by no means least, Evie van Hacker, Exec Producer at Dimension, Gardner and Dom in Belgium. So welcome to the panelists and thank you all for participating in this session. Without further ado, let's move on with the first production. Renaissance, as far as I understand, is a production for TF1 in France, RTBF in Belgium with co-producers Leonis and Belga Productions. I'm going to ask Jean-Benoit to give us a little bit of a description about the show. Over to you, Jean-Benoit.
So yes, we have the pleasure to produce at this time a mini-series called Renaissance, a six episode of 1 hour. It will be produced for TF1, and I do produce and co-produce it with a Belgian company called Belga. The show is between 2 countries, and of course, and since the early beginning of the script, we wanted to have the both country deeply involved in our story, and I mean Antwerp in Belgium and Biarritz in the southwest of France. It's all about a family drama which begins with a Belgian father who will discover that his daughter will die in the south of France, and he will have to take the awful and big decision to accept that the heart of his daughter will be transplanted to a sick woman in France. Our French woman will want to know who is the donor, and she will of course meet the Belgian father. And it's all about this story and the theme of the mini-series, which is about family, which is about adoption and about true love. Since the early beginning, the story took place between 2 countries, between Belgium and France. It was not for us a question of financement or anything else, but we wanted to have the wedding of Biarritz and Antwerp on screen.
And you're going to show us a little clip of it right now, yeah?
Yeah.
Zoé! Ouvre!
Fantastic. Now, Jean-Benoit, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about the role of Flanders in that production, which looked fantastic. I understand there was a lot of Flemish talent involved in terms of director, cast and crew. Talk about that a little bit, if you would.
I mean, 95% of the crew is Belgium now, and we did all the contracts in Belgium, even if they work in France. We have 33 days of shooting in France and 24 in Antwerp. So all the show is made by a Belgian Flemish talents for a main broadcaster called TF1 for prime time. I think it's a big premiere, but I think that it's a new way of making movies and making series all over Europe. So we had to be creative, not only on the scripts, not only on the talents, not only on the production, but we needed to be creative on the financement. So in fact, with TF1, we have more or less 60% of the whole budget, And then we had to find solutions with a 95% Belgian crew and talents, and 40% of the cast of the show, Belgium. Um, I had the really, we were absolutely enjoy and happy to have Skin Flanders with us. It was very important to have Skin Flanders with us. They followed the program. They invested on us, and it was very important to get that money on board on the financement plan. So it's a new creation, as you may imagine, by taking the best part of everyone on board to get the best miniseries you need and you try to make.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Jean-Benoit. I also understand that you did a lot of shooting around, oh no, you're about to start shooting in Antwerp. So tell us about that side of the production as well, shooting in Antwerp from mid-November through to mid-December, I understand.
Antwerp is a marvelous city. Antwerp is absolutely amazing. As I said yesterday to a friend of mine, it's a kind of little Soho somewhere. We will shoot in many places. We will shoot, of course, we want to have the best places of Antwerp, of course, but we will shoot in a COVID time. And thank you all the authorities to facilitate our shooting, because it was very important for our industry to keep going on, even during this sanitary crisis. And even in fact, in France, we had a fantastic COVID team. No one has been impacted, even if in France it was a huge and big subject. Of course, everybody is very concerned by going in Belgium, because Belgium is impacted as well as we are. But we have a fantastic crew who take care of their security and the security of the others with a lot of respect. And this is why, and it is another element why I am very proud and very honored to work with Belgium crews.
Well, thanks for telling us all about that, Jean-Benoit. I want to move on to Hodor now to tell us a little bit about Fractures. Do you want to give us a little strapline about that show, Hodor?
Fractures is an 8-episode medical drama, and takes a little spin on that topic by having our female lead, Christine, who's getting a divorce in the city of Reykjavik, that is for us, and decides to relocate back to her old home village where she comes from, a small town, and hasn't had a doctor before for some time. So she assumes a position of a clinic that has been run by a nurse and an assistant for some time. And what she realizes when coming back is that, she did, make a hasty decision, but then she has to kind of face up to the challenges that are facing her there, which are, among others, tied in with Icelandic folklore, like, for example, people believing in elves, herbal medicine. She has to move in with her mother, who's psychic, and she has to kind of deal with, repercussions of her sister dying in the past, and, her mother claiming to be speaking to her frequently. She relocates with her teenage daughter, who's of course not happy going from the city to this small village that it is. And in the village, her high school sweetheart is still living there and is actually the police officer in town. So, and she's kind of reigniting some emotions regarding him, and then her divorcee, so the husband from Reykjavik, is coming back as well, try to win her back. So there's a little love mix going on there, and then it's a deep, thorough, character driven family drama with this medical spin on top of it, where you will actually go through some procedural medical cases in each episode, but they're not the focus of the episode, but more like a spice on top of the deep human drama.
You're going to show us a little clip of that show, I think.
Absolutely.
kom du till min, kom du till min.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great show. I want to hear a little bit more about how the co-production came together, because there's lots of moving parts between the Icelandic production companies, the Belgian production companies, the Belgian distribution companies. Tell us how all that came together, Hoda.
Absolutely. It was, it's probably a common and beautiful story of us, meeting it up in, I believe we met for the first time in Cannes a couple of years ago. We kind of struck a chord in terms of, wanting to work together, and that's the company Loon & Wien from Belgium that we, collaborated with. And we kind of set the ambition to start collaborating on some projects together. And we had a few that are, of different sizes and shapes that could fit the bill. And this was kind of the first in a line of 3 projects that we're kind of looking at together. While this one is not, for example, doesn't have a Belgian component in it, per se, we really were excited about what we were able to see and discover in terms of quality work, as Jean mentioned before. And we saw perfect opportunities to collaborate then on the first project, to do that more on the post-production side, and the kind of the more physical functional things like the equipment, while we'll be building that gradually up to the other series that will be, we will film in that region, and we will have some talent attached to the projects, and even a majority of an actual filming of one of the projects will take place in that area as well. Just been a beautiful kind of relationship that we've been building, and we want to continue it. We're really happy with the people from the company, but also from all the funds and all the people from the fund, and happy and proud to having gotten a grant from Screen Flanders to make this happen. Economically and for the financial plan, it makes a huge contribution to have the region so well kind of embracing the project, if I may say. It is a project for the national broadcaster in Iceland, RÚV, and then it has been pre-sold to all the Nordic public broadcasters, and then Lumiere series, or Lumiere is taking up the Benelux area of distribution, and we'll see what comes out of that.
I understand also that quite a lot of the kit that was used was produced and not just used in Belgium, but also flown over to Iceland. You had all the cameras, the lighting, the grip. The VFX were done in Belgium, the post-production, the sound. Tell us about your use of all the Flemish facilities.
We went to Belgium, did a visit to studios, sound stages, and some post-production companies to kind of explore how this could all happen. And we were just really, really impressed with what we could see and find. And and since then we haven't started formally on all the post-production, but all the elements that we've been discussing and planning and working on have been kind of working really, really nicely. While we're speaking right now, we are roughly halfway through the production, and there are some images that show some of the equipment and the light truck that came from Belgium, which we were was a moment for us to see it kind of arrive at outside our facility. It was a great moment.
Well, thanks for that, Hoda. Sounds very interesting. I can't wait to see that. I have to move on to another show called Transport from Tekele Productions in Finland. I'm going to ask Mia Haavisto to tell us a little bit about this, because it shares some things in the sense that it's for the same broadcasters and also has Reinvent involved too. So Mia, can you just tell us a little bit about Transport?
Yes. First of all, it's lovely to be here. And I remember 2 years ago, I was in C21. It was one of the first events where I was presenting the project internationally and meeting the first sales agent. So things have been going rather quickly, I have to say. But yes, Transport is an 8 × 50-minute suspense series. And it consists of 3 storylines. One of the first storyline is about a microchip found in baby food in a daycare center in Helsinki, and a journalist who starts to look into the matter. How can it be that a microchip is in baby food, and it's from a horse from Belgium? And then secondly, there's a bank manager who almost accidentally ends up laundering a little money. And then little by little, she goes further and further into a money laundering scheme. And then thirdly, there's a border control veterinarian who has gone missing. And his disappearance has something to do with the overall scheme of food fraud and money laundering that is taking place in entire Europe. Something that's characteristic to our series is that it's created by one person, like initially, by Auli Mantila, and she's the sole writer of the series. She's the only writer in the series, and she's also directing the entire series. So it's very much like a one-woman show in that regard, her being the creator. And we are two producers in the team, two Finnish producers in the team. In addition to me, there's Tia Talli, my colleague, and the CEO of Tekele Productions. And then we have worked very closely with our Belgian co-producer, Helen Perky, in the entire production. And we are now in mid-shooting. We shot the first 2 weeks of the series in Belgium in the beginning of September, and it went very well indeed. And then now we're shooting in Finland until the end of March, having a little break around Christmas. And possibly we are planning on shooting in Sweden a little bit on our very last days in March, if possible. But so here in short, what transport is. Maybe we watch the little clip now.
Aksi.
Food criminality is one of the most rapidly growing forms of crime in Europe right now.
Transport is a story about food fraud in the meat industry.
It deals with truthfulness and the search for truth. We've been working on this for almost 2 years, and it's quite unbelievable that here we are shooting the series.
It's a story about responsibility and people who learn to act in a responsible way.
As human beings, we should be careful to treat animals way better than we do.
Well, we have fun all the time. We're like super hard workers, but of course, being in this particular set is very fun, and I'm super excited to be here.
I think it's great to work with all these Finns on set. I think they have fantastic humor.
I have to say that I'm very happy with how it's been going here. The Belgian crew we have the pleasure of working with. You're very sensitive to seeing everything is going okay and if we're happy.
I had a wonderful cast, and I really had a wonderful crew.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
What a great show that looks like. Tell us a little bit, if you would, Mia, about the locations that you used in Flanders. You said you shot a lot of times in Flanders. Tell us about the variety of the locations that you used and how easy it was to identify them.
Yes, okay. This is something that we knew early on that we would be shooting in the Benelux countries, and when we met with the co-producer Helen Perky, she was quick to suggest places in the Flanders region. And as the story is very much about horses, we knew we would be needing exquisite locations with horses and stables and fields. Among other locations, and there were plenty to choose from in the Flanders region, which was lovely. And then, as we were not able to travel to Belgium in the spring to look for the locations, we were very dependent on photos and on having an excellent location manager to look for the places. And then the very final decisions were made like a few weeks before the shoot. But it was there was an abundance of locations to choose from in the Flanders, which was lovely. And it was also what was a major advantage in the production is that places were accessible. We didn't drive that far to different locations, even if there were many, but it was very close to Mechelen, where we stayed during the shoot.
The list of locations I have is Antwerp, Bornem, Turnhout, and some stables. Tell us about those stables. They sound interesting.
Yes, it was this beautiful place called Steffex Stables, where we were able to shoot for one entire date. With like they have 300 horses, and it provided everything we needed for that particular shoot, and provided excellent production value, of course, for us. And they were very kind to let us in. Yeah.
And just on the Flemish talent, because I understand that you used a lot of Flemish crew, a lot of Flemish cast as well as your co-production partner. Tell us about how it was working with all the Flemish cast and crew and co-producers.
I think I have to start by sort of like thanking my Belgian co-producer Helen Pepke, because I'm new in TV production, in producing television. I have background in film myself. I produced like 25 features and documentaries together, but this is my first actual TV series. So I think it was lovely to have that kind of like expertise from my Belgian partner for working on this. And she was also very good at coming up with names of Belgian actors for us to choose from, because we didn't know the local talent all that well. So the main actors we have are Lynn van Rooyen and Gert van Rampelberg. Sorry about my pronunciation, but we worked a lot with them. And then it's also because we wanted to restrict the number of Finns traveling to Belgium and to use as much Belgian talent as possible. We have a big Belgian crew, and they are clearly very used to working with national crews. So I'm very, very happy with the experience.
I just want to move on to Crossroads, which I'm going to ask Ivy to tell us about, because it also involves lots of partners and moving parts, as it were. Ivy, do you want to just tell us a little bit about Crossroads, please?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'm very happy to hear that my colleagues are happy to work with my colleagues here in Belgium. So I know a couple of names you all mentioned, and I love them as well. So it's nice to hear. Yeah, in our productions, I work for the Mensen as an executive producer, and we produced series like Beau Séjour, Undercover, Professor T, and actually Crossroads. For us, this was an important project because we were looking to produce a series directly in French, which is not our main language. It's our second language in Flanders, directly for a French broadcaster. So we were looking for a way to tell this story, and we attracted our Flemish screenwriter, Paul Pitford, who you might know from Professor T, which was very successful internationally and national as well. And he created this series for us and directly for France Télévisions and ARD, sorry. And Crossroads is a blue sky crime drama series. It's in French, it's 6 times 52 minutes episodes, and in Germany it's 3 times 100 minutes episodes, and it tells the story about this couple, Thomas and Sophie. She's a lawyer, he's a police commissioner, and at a sudden day their 5-year-old son disappears. And the story starts 3 years later, where Sophie ended her career as a criminal lawyer, and she followed the training as a police officer because she wanted to find criminals and also to find her son back. So in the classical vertical plotline, we follow the investigations of the police team and of Sophie and her husband. But on the horizontal plotline, we have much more time and space to tell the psychological drama of the disappearance of their son. So in short, this is the story. Yeah, so it's in French, and we are now in the last couple of weeks of shooting. We started in August. In fully COVID crisis, like everyone, but we also have had a lot of luck. So everything went very well, and our actors, they are French, mainly French. So Alexia Barlier, she made a small clip from set this week. So maybe it's time to show it to you now.
Hello, I'm Alexia Barlier. I'm on the set of the upcoming show called Crossroads. I get to play Sophie Cross, the protagonist of the show. She's a lawyer turned investigator to find her disappeared son. It's a joint production between Belgium, France, and Germany. So we've been shooting all over Belgium and mainly Flanders in beautiful and amazing locations in Brussels, Ostend, Antwerp, and Bruges, with this remarkably talented crew, mainly Flemish. And I can't wait for everyone to see this show once it's done, coming out sometime next year. So hopefully you're all staying safe in those crazy times. Thank you, bye-bye.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that. Evie, I'd like to just dwell a little bit on how you managed to get all that talent together, because as far as I understand, Crossroads is the first series ever to be created by a Flemish screenwriter, directed by a Flemish director, co-produced by a Flemish production company for a French broadcaster. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. As far as I know, that's correct. Yeah, we with the skills of Paul and Frank van Mechelen, the director, are very important to that. I know in all over our region we have a lot of talented screenwriters, directors, DOPs, as the producer from Leonie's explained. And I think one of the key elements is that our talent is also multilingual. So Frank and Paul has been a previous English teacher, and he writes excellent stories. So he immediately wrote in English, and then we had a French dialogist attached to it. And Frank also speaks the French language very fluently, and the whole crew, Flemish crew people, speak 3 languages. So that's one of the reasons that they can adapt very easily into co-productions.
Excellent. And you also had a lot of experience shooting in Flemish locations at Antwerp, around the seaside areas. Tell us about the locations that you found.
The main location is the Belgian coast, but the coast is not very defined. Like in Broadchurch, for example, it's not a specific existing city or place on the Belgian coast. So it meant to be the coast in Northern Europe. But what makes the Belgian coast quite specific and quite unique in Europe, I think, is we as Belgian people don't find it extremely special, but it's a combination of the architecture and the cinematic qualities that makes it very unique for French and for German and for the rest of Europe.
Fantastic. So there's 4 very different productions, all different in their own ways, but they are very similar in the sense they all used Belgian finance mechanisms as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about that, or ask the panel a little about that rather. Each of you used the Belgian tax shelter, and maybe even Screen Flanders funds as well. So I'm just going to go through the panel again, just to ask them your experience of using those financing mechanisms. So Jean-Benoit, maybe we could start with you.
Without this kind of financement, there's no industry. We have all to admit this kind of things. So thanks to all the authorities and all over Europe to be with us and to believe on our project, because it's our, I think it's one of the key of our a strong European production and of our liberty somewhere. And I would begin by saying that. So in fact, and specifically talking with Renaissance, the show we are producing right now for TF1, it was absolutely important for us to be believed by the authorities, and especially by Screen Flanders, and especially by all the action of a tax shelter. Why? Because I don't have 2 commissioners here. I only have one, TF1. And as I said before, we are on a slot, which is a co-production slot. But the whole budget of the series would have needed much more money from another broadcaster. So we had to be creative. And with the help of Screen Flanders, which is a big investment, and because, as I said, we have 95% of the crew which is Belgium. We have the director, the DOP, and all their units. We have 40% of the cast who is Belgium, with 2 stars. Because we have on board the pleasure to work with Kevin Janssens, and we have Lynn Van Rooyen, we have Boris Van Severen, 3 big names, I think, and I think that Evie knows them in Belgium, and it's for us an honor to have their talents on board. And they play with 2 French stars, which are Claire Kame and François-Pierre Martin Laval. So in fact, it's a mix. But in the same time, when you have stars, we have Belgium stars, we have a Belgium crew. And because we shoot 25%, 24 days in Belgium, and we are going to do all the SFX, all the post-production in Belgium. And this is where the tax shelter plays. And this is how the tax shelter is very important for us. Because as you may imagine, as a French producer, because I'm doing this kind of co-production, I don't have my CNC. So I have to find another solutions elsewhere. And the tax shelter here and the Screen Flanders plays a big role. And I have to thank here the city of Antwerp, who decided to help us a little bit. And it was very important to see, and for us to have them on board. And then I can come back to see TF1 by saying, listen, we renew the whole budget to have a strong production value for a show that we do believe that will be strong enough for your slot and to travel all over Europe.
Fantastic. Hodur, tell us about your experiences of using the Belgian financial incentives.
Echoing what has already been said, but about how grateful we are of being able to penetrate some of these types of funding mechanisms. It is of course hugely important, and I can't stress the importance for a small country kind of like ours to we rely a lot on international financing mechanism to make our larger projects happen. And I think in terms of like working with everyone in the area and getting the getting Screen Flanders on board, for example, was a huge acknowledgement. I think that's also kind of something that is sometimes left out of the financial kind of discussion, is that we're really proud and happy that they took a look at the project and kind of evaluated it strong and push it forward. And then of course the tax shelter is a wonderful system, and we have a different system here in Iceland which works really well. It's a much more linear system, but in terms of the tax shelter, I think it also that is a mechanism that is really economically viable long term for a country like that. And I think it's just a beautifully kind of set up mechanism that the Belgians have got going, and that's why that's one of the reasons why we want to start or want to continue working more in that region.
Thanks very much. Mia, let's hear from you about your experiences. In particular, you mentioned how it might compare to other similar setups, financial setups in the film world. Tell us about your experiences with the Belgian tax shelter.
Early on, it was very clear to us how it might be constructed, how the financing puzzle might be constructed in Belgium. And I thought it was very transparent, what we could get, how long it would take, what kind of spend requirements there are. So it was very clear to see where we can aim and what makes sense to us and what doesn't. And we were working on that for like 6 months before putting in any application. But Screen Flanders was on board very early on. Contrary to most of my film projects where the co-production has been very much centered on post-production, here it was very much focused on shooting in Belgium, as the story took place partly in Belgium. So we constructed most of the spend around the 10-day shoot that we would be having there. And the only element in post-production now is the composer. So as it's so we will be doing the editing and the sound work mostly in Finland. I like the transparency of it. I like the quickness of the process very much. I like the cash flowing of the Belgian instruments very much also. So that has paved the way for a very sort of like a neat operation, so to say. what can I do? Just echo what my colleagues have been saying here, that it's a very, very inspiring financing environment, and I hope to work there again. Yes.
Evie, last but by no means least, let's hear from you about your experiences as a producer from Belgium.
I think what makes our region quite unique, and also the combination of the tax shelter, obviously the combination of the tax shelter system and Screen Flanders is a win-win. I think it's a perfect combination related to the spend you can do in the region. And I'm talking about the spend possibilities, because that's where co-producers are looking for. I think our region is, and our crew and our post-production companies are highly professional. They speak multilingual languages, and the region is also very central located. So for co-producers, it's quite easy to reach and to reach out and to come to Belgium. Even Belgian crew can go to France or can go to another country to work there, and it's also considered as a Flemish spend. And that in combination, I think, with in a small country, to have a combination of medieval cities, a coastline, directly access to studios. We have one of the biggest water studio is also in Flanders. So I think it's quite a heaven for co-producers to come to Belgium and to Flanders specifically. Yes.
The litmus test is: would you bring your next project to Flanders? I think the answer is yes.
Of course.
I would also like to add, can I add something, Ed?
Sure.
I would like to add that coming from a relatively small country like Runar, I think it was accessible to us working in a similar sort of like approximately the same kind of like audience that we have in Finland, that to find a distribution also in Belgium, it makes a lot of sense. And like, as I was saying, that we got media funding also for the project is a lot based on the fact that we have relevant distribution in Central Europe, which is also very good. And to have a Belgian distributor on board early is also very important, in addition to tax shelter and Screen Flanders. So it's a good puzzle. But it was as a country, it was accessible and doable and open to an international co-production, which I liked a lot.
Well, it all remains for me is just to thank our panel: Jean-Benoit Gillig, Hordu Runarsson, Mia Harvisto, and Evie van Hayk. And thank you to Screen Flanders, and also thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of Content London On Demand.